Jeff and Jeremy in the Morning podcast brought to you commercial free by another podcast. You've subscribed to ours, now subscribe to theirs. It's the Slow County Real Estate Podcast with Hal Swayze. When you're done with this, go listen to something that will actually enrich your life. California DRE 011111911.
All right. Rocket Man, Elon Musk, firing more rockets off left and right from Vandenberg Air Force Base. The Coastal Commission choking on their own spit. Where are they? I thought they were going to allow them to do this anymore. It's 2025.
I don't know what happened with that.
Yeah, Falcon 9 rocket yesterday. Yeah, another sonic boom. Where's the Coastal Commission? Oh, maybe they're too busy denying permits on people trying to rebuild their homes.
I saw something yesterday. By the way, Elon Musk, pretty cool dude. Once again, wins.
He's a rocket man.
He sent a bunch of cyber trucks to.
Tesla's type
to Los Angeles to provide a battery bank for Starlink internet. Like, this guy's like not only is he like rich beyond belief, but he's got an engineer's mind like none other. He's like, okay, like the engineers love figuring out stuff. Like, they're just like all about figuring out stuff. He's
so
like,
what did he do? He sent these trucks down there to be the batteries
We got to get internet service to these areas that don't have any internet because their house is the hub for their internet. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring Starlink infrastructure in, provide people with the internet that they need. We'll use cyber trucks as the battery banks to power it because there's no power in these areas. So
he saw that F-150 Ford commercial. He's like, oh, I can do that. I got a bigger battery.
The trucks serve as battery banks to provide backup power and Wi-Fi through Starlink connectivity, which aids residents impacted by outages caused by the Eaton fire. So this was the one. Okay. This was the one up in Altadena. I say up; it's down for us, but if you're in the LA area, it's up in the hills for them. So really helping out the people of Altadena with what they're going through, and their houses burned up. The cyber trucks are there as battery banks, and Starlink's going to be made available because, there was a calamity of errors at one of these news conferences that these LA officials, every time they go out there, they just step on their own stuff when they open their mouths. They're like, well, okay, so we set up a website. We're sorry for setting up a website because people were supposed to enter in their information about their loss on their website. The problem is houses burned to the ground. So how the hell are you going to access a website unless it's on your cell phone? But cell phone service is crappy, and the websites are designed by government agencies. So therefore, they're more efficient on desktops than they are, or on laptops and desktops than they are on the mobile version of them. Like, you ever try to access a government website on a mobile version of forget about it. I mean, it's dumb. Like, you got an app? What, LA County has an app?
This is a good conversation to have, because you think about, like, when you're in that situation and you're told you have a half hour, you have an hour, whatever it is that you got to go. What are some important things you need to take? Well, you need to take your laptop. You need to take, obviously, battery backups, like your little battery supplies or power. What you need to, like, think of that kind of stuff that you could be mobile, like almost like if you were going to go camping or something. You know what I mean? Because if you lose your house and you lose everything, you're going to need something to communicate, to do things. And I'd never even thought about that. I mean, of course, you're going to have your cell phone with you, but your cell phone, right? That's going to be impossible. Everybody getting on certain towers, it's just going to be nuts. But if you have a laptop, you can make a mobile hotspot, or you can use the internet that Starlink is providing. Then you could probably get a lot more done. Just certain things I never thought about.
Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Mark Zuckerberg are all going to attend Trump's inauguration on Monday. This is going to be interesting. Elon Musk and Zuckerberg going to sit close to each other at the inauguration? I hope so.
Yeah, I think probably that was all for show. I don't think they're going to punch each other out there.
Oh, could you imagine that? How cool that would be? Like, that would be the inauguration to watch. I mean, not that it's not already, but, I mean, like, come on. Like, Dana White is in Trump's ear. He's like, hey, you know what you should do? You should put Mark and Elon sitting next to each other at your inauguration just to see what happens. He's a promoter's mind, right?
What, is he the executive director of the inauguration now? Dana White?
This used to be UFC City, San Luis Obispo. Is it probably not, since San Francisco moved in after the pandemic. But, you know, I mean, if there's any legs of the UFC out there listening that still have contacts with Dana White, get out on Dana White and say, hey, get in Trump's ear and get Mark and Elon sitting next to each other at this inauguration. Okay? This is what we need. Jeff Bezos, forget about him. Go sit him next to Bernie Sanders in his coat and his gloves. And nobody cares about Jeff. But get Elon and Mark sitting there next to each other. That'd be badass.
Today on the show, we're giving away more tickets to Chicago. It'll actually be 2 pairs of tickets today. We didn't get a winner for the show yesterday. We went back and it was 20 to 24 pairs of underwear that I'm guessing I have. That was the question, how many I have. Jeff came up with it. I'm not really sure why. Because I think we were talking about something about most people have only 4 pairs of underwear.
Yeah, they only have 4 that they regularly use in their rotation, whether they know it or not. I would argue that, you know, based on that study, that you say you have 20 to 25 in a rotation, but they're not in a rotation. My wife makes a very stringent rotation for my son. Because I remember I put his chonies away in his choni drawer one day, and she's like, whoa, why are you putting them there? They go here. I'm like, why? Because he pulls from this one, and then, you know, we rotate those up. I was like, well, you don't organize mine like that.
You wish you did.
I do.
Jeff and Jeremy in the morning on 93.3 KUZ.
97% of Americans say they're sick of it. They're sick of misinformation. They're sick of politics. They're sick of violence. They're sick of economic issues. They're sick of social issues. I think I'm more sick of social issues than anything else. And the way people tell us how we have to feel now and act.
Yeah, that's like that should not be something legislated by anybody in power. And I'm not talking about like presidents and stuff like that. I'm talking about just the ones that shape the narrative.
They tried.
Did you see yesterday that the president of MSNBC resigned?
No, I did not. No.
Her name is Rashida Jones. It's funny. I was reading about her resignation.
Wait, weren't they bought by somebody, or didn't they go out of business? Or
I think Universal or Comcast is looking to spin it off as its own property. So it will no longer live under the NBC News umbrella. It will be spinned off as MSNBC. You can rename it. You can do whatever. It's kind of like parting out a car. You're not selling the whole car, but you're selling the transmission. Basically, MSNBC has been reduced to a catalytic converter.
They were obviously the extreme left, and they were just running on conspiracy theories and fake news and everything for so long that a majority of the country finally just, you saw it in the last election and said, we're done with all this lying and BS, and nobody trusts you except for the crazy people, and you know who you are. If you still think that Morning Joe is a good source of getting your news. Or what's that short-haired woman in the afternoon? She's been
the Harry Potter impersonator.
Yeah. Rhonda, no. Rachel Ray. No, not Rachel Ray. Rachel Maddow. Yeah, she's gone mad. I have a feeling that all these people are going to be looking for jobs, and that's because nobody's watching them, and they all know it's BS. And the people that have chose to ride or die with these people look in the mirror and say, "I'm an idiot," because you are, because unless that's just entertainment to you. Because you hate the orange man, then that's fine. That's fine. So misinformation, the number one thing that people hate, and that's the number one problem with MSNBC, and that's why it's not there anymore.
That's why the president stepped down yesterday. It's funny because the president stepped down. The next to step up left CNN in 2022, and she was hired. She was, I guess, the the lead at CNN? Maybe not. Her name's Rebecca Cutler. She left CNN in 2022. She was hired by Rashida Jones, who was the old president of MSNBC as of yesterday. She was hired. Now she steps into that position. So everybody just failing up in this industry. So she's now the president of MSNBC, a gypsy news network.
Honestly, all the major
Comcast
networks
is just going to spin it up.
Have a lot to do to gain a lot of people's trust back, if that's even possible.
And they're doing nothing to do it. Hey, the newspapers are. I'll give the credit to the newspapers. Like the LA Times the other day came out and said, yeah, we regret endorsing Karen Bass. We had no idea she was going to be inefficient as a leader.
Well, maybe do a little research.
Jeff Bezos is like to the editorial board, we're not endorsing a presidential candidate. And if you don't like it, then I guess you can leave. And they did. Yeah. You know?
No, so that's good. It's good. I think we seem to have, it's like you can only tolerate something for so long and then it flips. And so hopefully that's where we're at. Coming up on Monday, we have a new president or a president going back into office and a definitely new direction for the country. And hopefully that will actually bring people together. I know there's some people that don't see it, but hopefully you'll give it a chance. And, if you start doing better financially, if you start seeing the country doing better, maybe that will put you in a more positive mood. And then 97% of Americans won't be angry and sick and tired of it. Of something, of one of those 5 things. You can weigh in 805-543-3693. What are you sick of? And if it's us, that's fine. Please use the sentence.
Cost of living increases. Is that on the list?
Yes.
There's no I was doing an inflation calculator the other day. This is insanity. Okay, I went back 5 years. 5 years. $120,000 5 years ago is now, you would need to make $150,000 in 2025. $30,000 is the difference over 5 years. Thank you, Egg Council.
Yeah, eggs are not cheap right now.
It's all your fault. Earlier, you were talking about the Coastal Commission and Elon Musk and where that stood, because the Coastal Commission back in October voted 6-4 to not allow any more SpaceX rockets, Falcon 9s, to be launched from Vandenberg. Well, Vandenberg has a big problem with that because he's got government contracts with the Defense Department to send satellites up that are like spy satellites, infrastructure satellites, things like that, that to a tune of, last year it was 36. They wanted to increase it to 50 this year. And by the end of the year, they thought that number could climb to 100. So they're like, no, you guys can't do this. Coastal Commission's like, oh, we made the ruling on it immediately because there are financial interests there. Elon Musk filed a 45-page lawsuit. And so now it's tied up in courts. While it's tied up in courts, he will still be able to shoot Falcon 9 rockets from Vandenberg because the courts have not decided. And I imagine when the courts do decide, they're going to look at it and go, what was your reason for this? You didn't like him because he supported Donald Trump? Okay, case dismissed. He's going to continue on to do what he wants to do. The Coastal Commission just being the Coastal Commission. Another thing that we were talking about is Zuck and Elon hopefully sitting next to each other at the inauguration. You know who's not going to be at the inauguration? Same person who was not at Jimmy Carter's funeral. Michelle Obama. She's not going to attend the inauguration. Makes it very awkward for her husband. She didn't give a reason for.
I think if I'm Donald Trump, I'd rather her not be there, to be honest with you.
Didn't give a reason for her absence, but she said that the inauguration that she attended in 2017 was not an enjoyable experience for her, so she'll be sitting this one out. Okay. There's talk about her possibly being the person that would run for president in 2028.
Yeah.
God, time goes by fast. And it's like, well, you can't even, set aside differences to show up and sit. I mean, all you have to do is sit. I don't know. This seems strange. You got all these people showing up.
She's probably got things she's got to do that day. I don't know. What does a really rich woman do that doesn't have a job? Hair, nails.
She's not rich, Jeremy. She worked in the public sector.
Don't they live in like a $30 billion house? No, I mean,
notwithstanding, Jeremy.
No, that's not true. I think he's worth $30 billion.
They're civil servants, Jeremy. They can. It's impossible for him to be worth that much money. I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, they just eke out a modest living on a civil servant salary, and make next to nothing. I mean, come on. She can't even. Maybe the reasoning should have been, I can't afford to go to the inauguration for Michelle Obama. That could have been a good excuse. I was just a civil servant, or I was married to a civil servant. He didn't make that much money. We don't have that much money.
Well,
until your chef dies paddleboarding outside your mansion.
Yeah.
Then you're like, oh, well, I guess we do have some money.
Okay. 70 million is what they're putting it at. 70 million.
That's good for only making $250,000 a year.
It's pretty good.
8 years.
It's pretty good, and that's only money he has to report, by the way. So,
Jeff and Jeremy in the morning. Don't miss a moment. Subscribe to the podcast on Google, Apple, YouTube by clicking on Jeff and Jeremy at KZOZ.com.